Emerging from rugged coastlines and sun-drenched islands, ancient Greece gave rise to ideas that shaped the very foundation of the modern world. But how did a scattered collection of city-states produce philosophers, architects, and warriors whose influence echoes through time? And why did this golden age of culture and democracy eventually fade into history, leaving behind only ruins and legends? This is Drift Off 2, where we bring calm stories for curious minds. Long before the soaring columns of the Parthenon or the debates of Athenian democracy, the seeds of Greek civilization were sown in the fertile soils of the Aegean. This was the Bronze Age, an era of myth, of kingdoms now lost to time, and of seafaring peoples whose legacy laid the foundation for everything that followed. The first great civilization to emerge was the Minoan, flourishing on the island of Crete around 2000 BCE. Master builders and skilled navigators, the Minoans left behind palaces like Knossos, intricate complexes filled with frescoes, storerooms, and advanced plumbing. Their art celebrated life, nature, and religious ritual. They worshipped goddesses, revered bulls, and danced in honor of unseen forces. By 1450 BCE, their society began to decline, perhaps due to natural disasters or invasion. Rising afterward were the Mycenaeans, a warrior culture on the Greek mainland. From fortified citadels like Mycenae and Tiryns, they ruled through strength and strategy. Unlike the Minoans' peaceful scenes, Mycenaean frescoes depicted warriors and chariots. They left behind Linear B tablets, an early Greek script, and opulent tombs with gold masks and weapons, signaling a culture steeped in conquest and ceremony. Many believe that the epics of Homer, the Iliad and the Odyssey, were inspired by this era. Though composed centuries later, they echo a world of bronze and blood, of proud warriors and vengeful gods. But by around 1100 BCE, the Mycenaean world collapsed. Palaces were destroyed, writing vanished, and Greece entered a period of decline known as the Dark Ages. Yet the darkness was not absolute. Small communities endured. Oral tradition kept ancient stories alive. Pottery evolved, and iron replaced bronze. By the 8th century BCE, a remarkable revival began. The Greeks adopted the Phoenician alphabet, making writing more accessible, and giving voice to a new age of culture and expression. The legacy of the Minoans and Mycenaeans lived on, not only in myth, but in the values that would define Greece: reverence for the divine, a passion for beauty and excellence, and a belief that humans could shape their own destiny. From the rubble of lost palaces and whispered legends, a civilization was awakening, one that would go on to shape the world for millennia. By the dawn of the Archaic Age, ancient Greeks had emerged from obscurity into a time of renewal. Across the mountainous mainland and sunlit islands, small communities evolved into organized, self-governing city-states, polis, each a unique political and cultural entity. Among them, Athens and Sparta would rise to prominence, but dozens of others, Corinth, Thebes, Rhodes, flourished in their own right. Fiercely independent, these polis shared a language, religious beliefs, and traditions. They worshipped the same gods, honored the same myths, and gathered for shared festivals, including the Olympic Games. At the heart of each polis was the agora, a public space for trade, assembly, and debate. Nearby stood the Acropolis, a fortified hilltop sanctuary for the gods. These spaces weren't just practical, they symbolized the intertwined nature of civic life and spiritual devotion. Citizenship, however, was exclusive. Only adult males born to local parents could participate in politics. Women, slaves, and foreigners were excluded. Yet within these limitations, the seeds of participatory government were being sown. Sparta built a society on discipline and martial valor. Boys entered the agorge at age 7, undergoing harsh training to become soldiers. The city was ruled by 2 kings and overseen by a council of elders and ephors. Spartan society prioritized unity, strength, and sacrifice. In contrast, Athens pursued political innovation and intellectual growth. Reforms by Solon and Cleisthenes restructured power, giving citizens a voice in an early form of democracy. Assemblies, councils, and sortition reshaped how decisions were made, placing civic responsibility at the heart of Athenian life. Greek colonies soon dotted the Mediterranean, extending the polis model from Sicily to the Black Sea. These colonies remained culturally Greek, helping spread Hellenic ideas far beyond the Aegean. The Archaic period also saw an artistic and intellectual flowering. The Kouros statues emerged, idealized, forward-facing figures representing human potential. Poets like Sappho and Hesiod gave voice to personal emotion and ethical reflection. Early philosophers began asking questions not just of gods, but of nature and existence itself. The rise of the city-states marked a true cultural awakening. Within their stone walls, the foundations were laid for democracy, philosophy, and art, and in their rivalries and alliances, the destiny of Greece would be shaped for centuries to come. If the city-state was the heart of ancient Greece, then Athens was its soul. Here, amid sun-drenched hills and marble temples, a revolution in governance and thought began, one that would influence the world for millennia. Athenian democracy, while far from modern standards, was a bold experiment in self-rule. In the early 6th century BCE, Solon challenged aristocratic dominance by reforming laws, cancelling debts, and expanding political participation. Cleisthenes later introduced a new system based on daimes, local districts, that gave ordinary citizens a role in public life. In the ecclesia, or assembly, citizens debated and voted on laws. The boule, a council of 500, selected by lot, managed daily affairs. These structures placed civic duty at the centre of public identity, offering a participatory model unseen in earlier societies. This political vitality was mirrored by intellectual ferment. Philosophers sought answers not from myth, but through reason and dialogue. Socrates wandered the agora, challenging assumptions through relentless questioning. Though he left no writings, his legacy lived on through his student, Plato. Plato, unsettled by Socrates' execution, founded the Academy. Through dialogues on justice, ethics, and the soul, he sought a deeper understanding of truth. His student, Aristotle, took a more empirical approach, observing the natural world and systematizing knowledge. His works on logic, ethics, politics, and biology shaped Western thought for centuries. But philosophy in Athens wasn't detached from civic life. The pursuit of arete, excellence, extended beyond the battlefield or stage. It meant living a virtuous, reasoned life and contributing to the polis. Under Pericles, Athens became a cultural beacon. The Parthenon crowned the Acropolis. Theatre thrived with works by Sophocles and Euripides. Historians like Herodotus and Thucydides recorded events not as divine fate, but as human action shaped by choice and consequence. Athens had flaws. Slavery endured, and women remained excluded from politics. Yet its ideals, free speech, public debate, civic responsibility, endure. The democratic and philosophical traditions begun here continue to influence how societies govern and how individuals think. In the shade of olive groves and marble porticos, Athens gave rise to a new way of being, one rooted in reason, dialogue, and the belief that human beings could seek truth and shape their destiny. While Athens embraced intellectual pursuit and democratic debate, Sparta followed a very different path, one defined by discipline, simplicity, and service to the state. Nestled in the Peloponnesian heartland, Sparta forged a society where personal ambition was subdued in favor of collective strength. Spartan boys began military training at the age of 7 in the agorgoi, a rigorous system that molded them into disciplined warriors. Obedience, endurance, and sacrifice were instilled from childhood. Luxury and comfort were rejected. The ideal Spartan citizen was one who placed the needs of the city above all else. Governance in Sparta was unique. 2 kings ruled jointly, supported by a council of elders, the Gerousia, and overseen by annually elected officials known as ephors. While the Spartiates, the warrior elite, focused entirely on military life, the helots, an enslaved population, sustained the economy through farming and labor. Sparta's military was legendary. The phalanx formation, a tight, disciplined wall of hoplites wielding shields and spears, was the cornerstone of Greek warfare. Each man's shield protected his comrade, embodying the communal spirit of Spartan combat. The most iconic moment in Spartan history came during the Persian Wars. At the Battle of Thermopylae in 480 BCE, King Leonidas and 300 Spartans made a valiant last stand against the massive Persian army. Though they perished, their courage became a symbol of self-sacrifice and resistance against tyranny. The Persian Wars, fought across land and sea, saw Greek city-states unite against a common foe. From Marathon to Salamis and Plataea, combined forces of Athens, Sparta, and others repelled the mighty Persian Empire, proving that even fractured rivals could defend their shared ideals when threatened. But unity was short-lived. Rivalries resurfaced, particularly between Athens and Sparta, setting the stage for the Peloponnesian War. Still, Sparta's reputation as a society built on valor and order remained unmatched. Though it lacked Athens' art and intellectual fervor, Sparta offered another model of excellence, one forged in discipline and devotion to the collective. Its values, while stark, remind us of the diversity within Greek civilization and the many ways strength can be defined. In Sparta, the measure of greatness was not brilliance or beauty, but endurance, duty, and the courage to stand firm, even when outnumbered. The 5th century BCE marked a high point in Greek history, a period known as the Golden Age. At the heart of this flourishing stood Athens, transformed under the guidance of Pericles into a cultural and political beacon for the ancient world. Fueled by the wealth of the Delian League, Athens undertook grand public works. Temples rose, streets bustled, and the Parthenon crowned the Acropolis, a monument not only to Athena, but to Athenian confidence and identity. Its proportions, elegance, and sculptural detail remain some of the finest achievements in classical architecture. Art flourished. Sculptors like Phidias captured both idealized form and human emotion. Their works reflected a belief in balance, harmony, and the dignity of the human body, principles that would shape Western aesthetics for centuries. In open-air theatres, dramas unfolded. Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides explored human suffering, justice, and fate, while Aristophanes used satire to skewer politics and social norms. Theatre in Athens wasn't just entertainment, it was civic reflection. Meanwhile, historians like Herodotus and Thucydides began chronicling human events. Herodotus recorded the epic clashes of East and West, while Thucydides, more analytical, documented the Peloponnesian War with an eye for cause and consequence. Both sought meaning in history and accountability in power. Science and philosophy advanced in tandem. Anaxagoras speculated on celestial mechanics. Hippocrates emphasized observation and ethics in medicine. The groundwork was laid for systems of knowledge that still inform science and critical thinking today. Democracy, too, reached its peak. Citizens could propose laws, serve on juries, and vote on matters of state. Pericles described Athens as a place where power is in the hands of the many, not the few. Though limited to male citizens, the participatory nature of this system was remarkable for its time. Yet even amid brilliance, strains appeared. Athens grew powerful and resented. Its control of league tribute, aggressive building campaigns, and imperial ambitions bred distrust. Philosophers warned of hubris, excessive pride, as a harbinger of downfall. Still, for a moment, Athens stood as the pinnacle of human endeavor. The Golden Age wasn't just about monuments and art, but about a way of thinking, bold, curious, and reflective. It showed what a society could achieve when it honored both individual talent and collective purpose. And though this era would not last, its light has never truly dimmed. As Athens basked in its golden age, tensions simmered across the Greek world. The growing power of the Athenian Empire, funded by the Delian League, bred resentment among its supposed allies. Sparta, wary of Athens' cultural and political dominance, viewed the city's influence with suspicion. The fragile unity forged during the Persian Wars was beginning to fracture. The result was the Peloponnesian War, a drawn-out brutal conflict between Athens and Sparta that spanned nearly 3 decades, from 431 to 404 BCE. It was a war not just of soldiers and ships, but of ideologies, democratic Athens versus oligarchic Sparta. The fighting brought devastation, famine, plague, and betrayal. Cities were razed, lives lost, and the Greek world exhausted. Athens eventually surrendered. Its empire was dismantled, its long walls destroyed, and its democracy briefly replaced by an oligarchy. Though the city would recover some of its former vigor, the era of dominance was over. The war had weakened all of Greece, leaving its city-states fractured, vulnerable, and diminished. Into this void stepped a new power, Macedonia. Under King Philip II, the Macedonians modernized their military and extended their influence southward. At the Battle of Chaeronea in 338 BCE, Philip decisively defeated a coalition of Greek city-states, signaling the end of Greek independence. His son, Alexander the Great, inherited both the throne and his father's ambitions. In a whirlwind campaign, he conquered Persia, Egypt, and reached the edges of India. He founded cities, most notably Alexandria, and spread Greek culture across vast territories. Hellenism, a blend of Greek, Persian, Egyptian, and other influences, reshaped the ancient world. But Greece itself was no longer the center of power. The independent polis gave way to kingdoms and bureaucracies. The intellectual and artistic achievements continued, but under new political orders. Though conquered, Greece had left an indelible mark. Its ideas now traveled farther than its armies ever could. The decline of the classical city-states marked not an end, but a transformation. From the ashes of war and conquest, a new, broader Greek identity emerged, one that would continue to shape empires, faiths, and philosophies for centuries to come. Though the city-states fell and empires rose in their place, the legacy of ancient Greece never truly faded. Instead, it spread, embedded in language, law, literature, and learning, shaping the course of Western civilization and beyond. Roman generals may have conquered Greece, but Roman thinkers were conquered by Greek ideas. The Romans adopted Greek gods, studied Greek philosophy, and preserved Greek texts. Cicero admired Plato, and Roman sculptors imitated Greek forms. The Stoics and Epicureans, drawing directly from Hellenistic thought, influenced Roman ethics and governance. During the Renaissance, a rebirth of interest in classical knowledge brought Greek ideas back to the forefront of European thought. Artists, architects, and scholars turned once again to the symmetry of the Parthenon, the logic of Aristotle, and the poetry of Homer. ancient Greece became not just a chapter in history, but a model for art, governance, and intellectual achievement. Modern democracies owe much to Athens. While far from perfect, Athenian democracy introduced the radical notion that citizens could shape their government. The language of politics, from democracy and republic to tyranny and oligarchy, is rooted in the debates of the Greek agora. Greek influence can also be found in education, science, and philosophy. Universities trace their lineage to the academy and the lyceum. Geometry, astronomy, medicine, and the work of thinkers like Pythagoras, Euclid, and Hippocrates laid foundations for entire disciplines. Even the Olympic Games, reborn in the modern era, echo the athletic competitions that once united Greek city-states in peaceful rivalry. But perhaps the most profound legacy is the spirit of inquiry itself, the belief that through reason, observation, and dialogue, humans can seek truth, understand the world, and improve the human condition. This enduring pursuit began in the sunlit courtyards of Athens and has continued across continents and centuries. Ancient Greece lives on, not only in textbooks and ruins, but in the very structures of thought and society. From architecture and art to law and language, its echoes resound in every corner of the modern world. The Greeks did not simply build temples and wage wars. They built ideas, and those ideas remain, still vibrant, still shaping the world. So, what do you think? Was ancient Greece the true cradle of Western civilization, or is there still more to uncover beneath its myths and marble ruins? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave us a comment below. If you're fascinated by the echoes of the ancient world, don't miss our next video, where we explore another incredible chapter of human history. And if you enjoyed this journey into the past, please give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and tap the bell so you never miss a new discovery.